This video is proudly sponsored by VRWave, which offer a full selection of prescription lens inserts for a full range of VR headsets, right from a Quest all the way up to a Vario Aero Pimax Crystal, amongst many others. Now, if you don't wear glasses, I still feel it's important to get lens inserts to protect those really expensive lenses, especially as you can have blue light filters which help combat motion sickness and insomnia. Now, if you do wear glasses, then it's even more important because then you can be comfortable all day, and if you have an astigmatism, if you have nearsighted or farsightedness, then all of this can be dialed in so that you get a crisp, clear image every single time you put the headset on. I'll have a 5% discount code for all of VRWave inserts. Please do check them out. Now it's time to get into today's video. Two class-leading micro OLED VR headsets have now been released, very close together. That is the Meganex Superlight 8K and now the Bigscreen Beyond version 2. And since I've been using both devices for quite a while now, this is a good time to give you my comparison. Now let's just start by saying that both of these little VR headsets are quite phenomenal in their own way and show the future of VR technology, in the sense that this is where we should be heading with form factor and micro OLED. And when compared to the likes of LCD displays, there really is no comparison. If you want that high contrast, beautiful, rich, deep blacks and really sharp visuals, then really micro OLED is definitely the way forward. And when you see it, you cannot unsee it. Let's be clear. And both of these headsets do a fantastic job of really giving you that experience. There are some drawbacks though, because at the present stage of this technology, micro OLED doesn't really have the brightness and the field of view of aspheric lens design headsets, when they can use big QLED panels such as the Somnium VR1 and the Crystal Super. And it's all about picking the right headset for your needs. And I do have full reviews going into a lot more detail of both the Bigscreen Beyond and Meganex on the channel. Please do check the notes below. So, with that being said, let's get into this comparison and let's start with comfort. So let's just start by saying that the Bigscreen Beyond is still the lightest and smallest VR headset in the world. It's incredible to think that Bigscreen has even shaved off 15% of the weight of the Beyond 2 compared to its predecessor. And it really does feel incredibly light, as is the Meganex, which only weighs around 180 grams, which is definitely heavier than the Bigscreen Beyond, but in my opinion, the Meganex takes the honours for the most comfort, and that's simply down to the halo strap, which I personally prefer over the facial interface of the Bigscreen Beyond, which has to be scanned, which in theory means better comfort and less light leakage. But what it means in practice is that you don't get any ventilation. And once it's been on your skin for about an hour or so, you definitely feel like there's no air getting at your skin, and it can kind of feel a bit clammy, especially on a very hot day. With the Meganex, of course, it kind of floats above your face and you can really tailor it to sort of sit however you wish, because it has a eye relief slider, it has a tilt mechanism. You can even completely take the headset off your face and tilt it right up. Those things actually really do make a difference if you just need a 5-minute break just to maybe drink a cup of coffee or something. Even just 30-second break is all it takes sometimes, just for you to kind of reset a little bit, and I really do like that design. Now, it must be said that Bigscreen Beyond are planning their own halo strap, but that's not available until the summer, so I can't really comment on that just yet, but I'm really excited to see if this new halo strap can really improve the comfort over a longer session. I guess we'll see soon. Now, bear in mind, this is just a personal thing, and for many Bigscreen Beyond owners, they do not complain about the facial interface and find it perfectly okay. It all depends on how you feel about a VR headset being sort of very close on your skin, or whether you don't mind that, or whether you prefer a halo style strap like me, but just keep that in mind. But I do think there is also the issue of heat, because the Bigscreen Beyond 2 definitely feels a lot warmer than the Meganex. That could be just down again to that lack of ventilation. But for me, definitely the Meganex wins on the comfort. Now, I will say that the audio strap on the Bigscreen Beyond definitely helps, and you can sort of adjust it so it doesn't quite sit on your nose so much. But it must be said that even after about an hour and a half, I've had enough in the Beyond 2, and I just want to take it off my face for a bit to let it breathe. Whether with the Meganex, I've currently managed a full 5-hour session. But again, I am aware that Bigscreen are going to provide a halo strap, which actually doesn't even need to be scanned, so you don't need a facial interface which is customized to your face. But until I have it, I can't review it. Right, let's now talk about the visuals, probably one of the most important things about both of these headsets. Now again, I won't go into things too in depth here. I have full reviews of both of these headsets on the channel. Remember that before you ask me questions. Just go ahead and look at those reviews. But the Bigscreen Beyond has the same resolution as the Beyond 1. That is 2560 by 2560. That's about 6.5 megapixels per eye. It's micro OLED. It does state on the website that's around 32 ppd. And it has a refresh rate of 75 Hz, that's native, or you can upscale the image to 90 Hz. I'll talk about this in a moment. In terms of the Meganex, it has a 10-bit HDR compatible 4K micro OLED panel, and that is, let me get this right, 3552 by 3840 per eye, with a combined pixel count of 27 megapixels, which has to be one of the highest pixel counts of any consumer VR headset to date. And before I forget, the Meganex has a 90 Hz refresh rate. I'm not sure if there's going to be some added options. I did talk to TJ about this a while ago, and there could be a 120 Hz mode, but at the time's recording right now, it's just 90 Hz. So let's just talk about that for a moment, of what that means in practice when you're flying, rather than just all these special numbers. Well, there's no doubt about it that the Meganex has the better panel here in terms of how you can change all of the software. You can adjust the black levels, the chroma, the contrast, not just the brightness. And that means you can really make those colors absolutely pop. I really love this feature, and I hope maybe that Bigscreen could add this into their own software later down the line. But when it comes to that extra pixel fill, it does make a difference, especially when looking at the sky. I just prefer it in the Meganex, but don't get me wrong, there's not a massive jump here, because the Bigscreen Beyond does an absolutely incredible job and looks so clear and crisp as well, and it definitely is enough. I just feel when looking back to back, and you'd never know this unless you have both headsets, you can tell that the image just looks a lot more cleaner, and it's not like I can see screen door effect in the Bigscreen Beyond, not at all, but it's just in the Meganex, it's the quality and grade of the panel. Like, there's a certain texture to it that looks completely clean, as with the Bigscreen Beyond, you can just tell, especially when looking at small text, that there is something there, even though you cannot see the screen door. It's just that the resolution jump together with the pixel fill makes a difference. And the only way I can describe this, and I've said this a few times now in my videos, is when looking at the sky, it feels like you're looking at it with your own eyes. And it just doesn't feel like you're looking at a display. Whether with the Bigscreen Beyond, it just feels like you can tell there is something there. But really guys, I am nitpicking here, and both headsets score incredibly highly here, and you won't be disappointed with any of them. Now, it's worth noting that there is an advantage of the Bigscreen Beyond, two in fact. That lower resolution could be a good thing for you, because the prices of GPUs and the power that's needed to run the Meganex is so high that maybe the Bigscreen Beyond would be a better choice for you. Because if you think about it, with that lower resolution at 2.5K per eye, together with the lower refresh rate, means you've got a much lower target to hit. You only need around 37.5 frames per second for it to feel very smooth in a flight sim, versus 45 frames per second at 90 Hz. And of course, with that higher pixel density as well, it's a much higher target to reach. So keep in mind that if you're going to go for the Meganex, you're also going to need a much more powerful GPU. On a personal note, I always prefer 90 Hz. So again, the Meganex just sort of wins here on the overall visual experience because the BOE Micro OLED 4K panel together at 90 Hz for me feels fantastic. And there is another thing to complicate matters here. This is something I've noticed just by testing, that for some reason the Meganex, the pixel response time, whether it's different or not, I don't know, but it can handle lower frame rate a bit better. At 25 frames per second, which I know is really low, it actually feels not too bad compared to the Bigscreen Beyond at 25 frames per second. So it's a bit of a complicated one, this, guys, but I'm giving you this information. I don't think any other channel will tell you this sort of stuff, but I hope this can help you in some way with knowing that, you know, there is some trade-offs on both headsets here. Right, let's now talk about field of view. This is where the Bigscreen Beyond, well, it's a hammer blow, quite honestly. And if field of view is incredibly important to you, then, well, you might as well just stop this video right here and just get the Beyond 2. Because the big screen scores very well. The version 2, with its lenses, well, even though they're very similar, whatever magic they've done, it scores incredibly high. I'm getting 108, 109 degrees horizontal and well over 103, 104 vertical. This could even be higher for you depending upon your face shape and everything else. It's quite an incredible difference. And you definitely can tell, especially when going back to back with a Meganex, because unfortunately the Meganex, well, the field of view is not very good at all. I've said this from the word go, folks, so please do not be surprised when you get your Meganex. If you're disappointed with the field of view, well, don't say I didn't warn you, because I'm getting around 94, 95 horizontal and about the same vertical, perhaps a little bit more around 98. There is something here, though, that we need to talk about, and that is binocular overlap. This is something that could affect you and cause you eye strain. There's no doubt about it that Bigscreen did borrow the overlap to increase the field of view, much like a lot of other VR companies, such as Meta, Pimax have done it before, and definitely Vario with their XR4. For me, it's not a problem, and I've now been in the Bigscreen Beyond for a decent amount of time, and it just does not give me eye strain at all. But in the past, if you've ever suffered with eye strain due to binocular overlap, just keep in mind that the Bigscreen Beyond has a worse overlap than the Meganex. I talk about this in a lot more detail in my review of the Bigscreen Beyond, so please do check that out. But I must say, on the upshot, even though the Meganex has a smaller field of view, it does feel very comfortable on the eyes, because wherever you look with your eyes, even right at the edge of the field of view, it looks like you're looking at it with one lens. Whether with the Bigscreen Beyond, you can see both lenses, and sometimes you can see a little bit of a dark patch where your nose should be. I guess it's a bit like looking through a pair of binoculars versus a ski mask. And I think it's something that is important because it can affect the 3D image and make you feel like you are actually looking with a VR headset rather than your own eyes. Maybe that's another reason why I just prefer the Meganex when it comes to the visual fidelity, because it just looks a lot more uniform and correct how I would see in real life. But I must admit, though, I do think what Bigscreen Beyond have done is phenomenal, actually. And together with the lenses, which I'm now going to talk about, is a big deal. Because the lenses, in my opinion, on the Bigscreen Beyond are better than the Meganex. This is something that really did shock me. Because I am so impressed with the Meganex's lenses. They feel like a smaller version of the Quest 3 lenses in a way, but not quite as good. Whether the Bigscreen Beyond 2, in my opinion, they're on par with the Quest 3 lenses, which are the best in the business. Don't confuse this, guys, with image quality. The Bigscreen Beyond and Meganex are worlds apart from that headset, okay? I'm just referring to the lenses themselves. And I must say, the edge-to-edge clarity, the sweet spot or eye box, however you want to call it, well, it's absolutely excellent in the Bigscreen Beyond and very, very near to the edge, especially down at the bottom and top of the display as well. This means I can look around the cockpit with my eyes even better in the Bigscreen Beyond than I can the Meganex. I don't need to move my head half as much, especially with that extra field of view. So this is where the Beyond 2 starts to really claw back some points, because I am incredibly impressed with the lenses now. They are really, really excellent, and when it comes to field of view and sweet spots, it is absolutely a massive win for the Bigscreen Beyond, even against the Meganex. So well done, Bigscreen. Now let's talk about glare. Both headsets do suffer with glare. Now, if any of you remember my reviews of the Beyond 1, I used to complain about the glare all the time, and it was a deal breaker for me, and it actually caused me some eye strain. With the Beyond 2, it's a massive difference between those two headsets, but unfortunately compared to the Meganex, it still does suffer with glare a little bit more. You still get that sort of little Vaseline effect at the bottom of the lens in certain high contrast scenes. It's not terrible, and I think in terms of the reduction between Beyond 1 and Beyond 2, it's probably a good 70 to 80%. That's how big a deal it is. But it does not compete quite with the Meganex, which still also has glare, by the way, a lot more than, say, something like the Quest 3 perhaps, or any spheric lens headset which suffers from no glare or God rays. That's the great thing about spheric lenses, they really have no glare at all. That's probably why I can't stand it so much, because I'm so used to spheric lenses. But when it's all said and done, I think overall I would pick Bigscreen Beyond the winner here when it comes to the lenses and the field of view. It is a fantastic improvement, not just from the Beyond 1, but also against the Meganex. But there is something else that I need to talk about before we move on, and that is the warping profile. Right now, the Meganex, as I said in my first impressions, has some warping on the edges. You know, it's something that's quite strange, because after a couple of minutes, I personally get quite used to it, but I do notice it when going back to back. For example, when being in the Bigscreen Beyond 2, then going back into the Meganex, I can suddenly realise that there is some movement there. And the best way I can describe it is, imagine looking at a square and then moving your head left and right. The lines of that square will start to move a little bit with you and distort. You definitely get that with a Meganex. This is something, though, I have let them know about, and I do think they will solve it in software. But again, at the time of this recording, the Bigscreen Beyond 2 warping profile is excellent. So there's absolutely no question that in terms of the field of view and sweet spot, that is edge choice clarity as well, and the warping profile, the Bigscreen Beyond 2 wins definitely against the Meganex. The only thing it doesn't is glare and the binocular overlap. A few other things to mention is that the Meganex does have diopter adjustment, which is really handy, I must say, especially for those who wear glasses. The Bigscreen Beyond doesn't have that option, but you can get lens inserts. You can also get lens inserts for the Meganex as well, though, but that's just worth bearing in mind. And the IPD, the Beyond 2, you can now change the IPD, but you do need a little tool to do it. I'll just show you now some footage from a dear YouTuber called Heli Rider that sent me this footage, so thank you, buddy, really appreciate it. That is a very useful feature now on the Bigscreen Beyond 2. It means that, well, it will help the resale value, but also you can share the headset, perhaps if you have two different facial interfaces. That's molded, of course, to your face. But again, the Meganex is better here because it has motorized IPD adjustment. That's a pretty fancy feature, I must say, especially considering the form factor. So let's now talk about something else, which I think is going to be a big deal for a lot of people. There is going to be an eye tracking version of the Bigscreen Beyond 2. So far, I have not received that device. I haven't tested it yet. If you're holding out for eye tracking, perhaps you like VR chat, or maybe there's some glimmer of hope that it could use dynamic foveated rendering in certain applications, then definitely hold out for the Beyond 2. And if it's really important to you, then just don't buy the Bigscreen Beyond 2 or the Meganex and hold out for the eye tracking version, which hopefully I'll be able to show at some point in the future. I think it's absolutely amazing to think that Bigscreen are going to add eye tracking in the Bigscreen Beyond 2. And in my opinion, that's going to be the headset that really truly deserves the accolade version 2. And believe it or not, this little upgrade is only going to add 1 gram of weight. Amazing. Let's talk about audio. The Bigscreen Beyond 2 absolutely wins on this one right now because it does have an audio strap which is available right now for the Beyond 2. This will also be available for the Halo style strap in the future. Now it's worth noting that Meganex are working on an audio strap, and I look forward to showing that on the channel when it's ready. But again, at the time of recording, I've got to just say what's in front of me right now. The Bigscreen Beyond 2 has fantastic integrated audio, and it must also be said that the microphone, although they're fantastic on both headsets, the Beyond 2 just takes the honours. Although in the software, the Meganex does have a lot of different options for changing the scope of the microphone as well as the noise reduction. So I think overall it's probably a draw, but from my test with it, especially whilst recording, I just find that the Beyond 2 is a lot easier to deal with. In terms of performance, I've noticed in Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020 at full native resolution with a 4090 using a 13900K CPU, there is about 9 frames per second difference between them. That is, the Bigscreen Beyond is 9 frames per second faster than the Meganex when using TAA mode. That's not a massive difference in performance, but it is enough when in VR, and especially when you're running very heavy flight sims. But I must say, I think a lot of that is down to the 4090 and its grunt. There might be a larger gap in performance if running a lower end GPU, perhaps something like a 4070 or below. Another negative with the Meganex is it's only available for NVIDIA based GPUs. So if you've only got an AMD based GPU, I would definitely recommend going for the Bigscreen Beyond version 2, since it is compatible. Now in terms of brightness, which is something I forgot to mention, but I am now, so hopefully you're still watching, is the fact that the Meganex overall, I feel, is just a bit brighter, and that's because you can play around with those settings which I've mentioned before, such as the chroma, the black levels, the contrast. This depends though, because you can use an overdrive setting in the Beyond 2 utility tool in Steam VR, and at that point the Beyond 2 is definitely brighter than the Meganex. But I do feel that the headset, it just feels like it's not comfortable running that kind of level of brightness, because it does get a lot hotter and you can hear the fan really going crazy in the headset, unless of course you've got the integrated audio, which then it just drowns the fan out. But personally, I just feel a little bit cautious running that kind of brightness for a long period of time, especially when the headset does get quite warm and you can hear that fan. But it has to be said that it's very, very shockingly bright for such a tiny micro OLED VR headset. They have done an amazing job here. I just don't know whether it's a very safe option to do that over a long period of time. It's important to note, by the way, that both headsets need outside-in tracking, that is base stations, so you do need to at least have one of them in order to track the headset correctly. In all of my videos you've ever seen with both the Bigscreen Beyond and the Meganex, I've only ever used one base station, which is on the top corner of my wall pointing down at my motion rig. But really, ideally 2 is best, but you can get away with 1. Oh, right guys, are you still with me? I hope so. This is a very detailed comparison. I hope you do appreciate it. It's not just about the raw specification, it's about using the headsets and the experiences. That's what this channel is about, living with this hardware. So we're just now going to talk about the stability of the software and headset in general. Well, I have to say I've had a number of random crashes with the Meganex, especially during startup, and the headset, once you switch it on, just takes a bit of time to start up. I think it does a little self-test with the motorized IPD and everything, which is all very cool, but it just, it takes a bit of time to get going. Whether the Bigscreen Beyond 2 is just instant, you switch it on, I mean really you don't, you just have to plug it in with the USB, which is a bit of a pain. I would prefer a power on and off button like the Meganex, but even so, I think that the Beyond 2 is a lot more stable. It's a native Steam VR headset, so there's less to get in the way. That also means that the Bigscreen Beyond 2 has smart smoothing capability using Steam VR, which the Meganex does not. However, there is planned motion smoothing or motion reprojection for the Meganex. They are working on it, so I can't wait to try that out. As is, there will be native OpenXR support coming as well. So I think over time, the Meganex is going to be a more fully featured headset when it comes to software support and settings than the Bigscreen Beyond version 2. So I'm looking forward to seeing how that progresses over time. So we're nearly at my conclusion, which is a surprising one, I've got to say. But let's just quickly talk about the pricing. I think they're both very well priced when you consider the technology in these headsets. Micro OLED is still extremely expensive, and comparing these to say something like a really big 4K OLED screen or monitor, they're both very well priced in the market. The Bigscreen Beyond is cheaper, but then of course it has inferior displays. But it has to be said that it is a very, very good priced headset when compared to the Meganex. After tax, you're probably looking at around probably £1,150, £1,200, I'm not sure. Then there's the audio strap, which again I would definitely recommend. The Meganex is still a lot more money at around £1,600 or €1,900, but you get a better headset when it comes to the visual fidelity. But you do lose out on that field of view as well. I think, okay, and this is just my personal opinion, that for most people out there, the Bigscreen Beyond 2 makes way more sense. If you're going to go for the micro OLED and amazing form factor style, then really the Bigscreen Beyond 2 has pretty much all of the boxes ticked. Amazing field of view, amazing form factor, great lenses, sharp display. Honestly guys, the display is way sharp enough. It's better and more happier with your GPU. Of course, some of the negatives are that, well, 75 Hz for me can be not quite comfortable enough. I do feel that the comfort in general of the headset on my head isn't quite up there. The headset gets quite hot and I don't really like the facial interface. Some of those things will get sorted soon with the Halo strap, but there's so many other positives, like the really nice integrated audio, the smart smoothing native SteamVR integration, which actually is a good feature, the great sweet spot, the really great field of view. I think for most people that makes the most sense. However, and this might confuse you guys, but as a critical thinker, I try and think of these things from your perspective as well as my own personal one. The Meganex is my personal favourite headset. I said it in my review, in fact I said it in my first impressions, and I still say it now. For me, it is my ultimate favourite daily driver VR headset, and that is because of that incredible high fidelity BOE screen, the increased comfort with the Halo style strap, which I know the Beyond 2 is going to get at some point, but until I have it in my hands I can't really review it. So definitely the Meganex is a lot more comfortable, it's cooler on my head as well, and I can wear it for a lot longer. Admittedly, I do miss the field of view of the Bigscreen Beyond, but there's no doubting that the overlap definitely makes a difference when you can look around with your eyes and just see one lens. That is very nice. But I must admit, that field of view is a contentious one, and when I do go back to the Beyond 2, I do really appreciate it. But the Meganex is definitely the headset that I tend to pick up the most now. It's hard to explain really, folks, but the way those colours just pop in the headset, that quality of the panel, it just gets me every time. And I can really tell, being a resolution and clarity snob that I am, I just really appreciate that beautiful rich colour palette. And like I said in this video already, it really feels like there's no display in the way of me and that beautiful sky. It makes a difference, folks, for me personally. But yet from an overall perspective and how I know my subscribers, I do feel that the Bigscreen Beyond 2 offers better value for money. I guess really it's a bit like when Jeremy Clarkson on Top Gear, if you've ever watched that, picked the most exciting car over the one that was better value for money. It's a bit like this here. I can really see that the Bigscreen Beyond 2 would offer a lot more to more people. But for me, it's all about that display and the level of comfort. It means that my eyes are happy and my face is happy and I can fly for many, many hours. This really is my favourite headset right now, and I don't say that lightly. But a massive congratulations to both companies here, and I think it's fantastic that VR is heading in this direction with micro OLED and fantastic form factor. I'm really glad that both headsets exist right now. Let me know what you think in the comments below, and if you appreciate this video, please feel free to use any of my affiliate links for the Bigscreen Beyond 2 and the Meganex. It really does mean a lot. But for now, thanks for watching, take care, and bye for now.